Hi, my name is Mike Bard, and I'm a director at KS&R, a custom market research firm based in Syracuse, New York. Thank you for your interest in our webinar on tracking research. Today, my associates Jen Longo and Michelle Albertine, both project managers here at KS&R, and I will share some of our best practices that we've used with our clients over our 35 plus years of combined experience. Tracking research is extremely valuable as it allows organizations like yours to see trends over time, understand historical changes, and sometimes use these learnings to anticipate future trends. It can also help to keep a pulse on audiences of interest, such as specific customer types and your competitors. Tracking research also enables you to identify your strengths and weaknesses, allowing you to better plan for your company's future. The life of a tracking study can span over many years, and over these years a lot can change within a client's organization. It's imperative that when managing a tracking study, researchers balance continuity with taking the necessary steps to make sure the tracker can keep up with the changing times in order to continue to provide insights that are useful and actionable to you and your key stakeholders. Changes in internal stakeholders and the research team composition, whether it be the internal team or the vendor team, can potentially change the way research is done. As the organization's direction changes over time, research objectives may need to be added or removed in order to best support these changes. Budgets may increase or decrease over time, which will affect the scope of the tracker. Maybe you can afford to add that regional oversample one of your stakeholders has wanted, or perhaps you'll have to figure out how to meet the same objectives with less money. New regulations, shifts in consumer behavior, or competitor changes may shake up things within your industry. Ensuring the research keeps up with these changes is very important. Poor project management can cause a slew of different issues that ultimately could lead to poor business decisions. Some common issues as a result of poor management are: artificial shifts in the data can cause alarm or questioning of the research when unadvised changes or errors are made. When research documentation is lacking or templates are not used, deliverables could be inconsistent, late, or just not what was expected. Those outside of the research team may not understand the true context of the data and misuse it. When the research isn't kept up to date, it often leads to the production of irrelevant data and findings. Over the years, we have personally conducted dozens of tracking studies and established several best practices to help you get the most out of your research and ensure your trackers will stand the test of time. A few of these steps or practices we take with our tracker management include: create and use detailed documentation to include methodology documents and reporting checklists. Build a solid questionnaire. Look for value adds. Meet and plan. And now Jen and Michelle will take us through these details of the best practices.
The longevity of most trackers and multiple deliverables, it's imperative to keep detailed documentation of project practices and standards. This helps ensure everyone who works on the project understands the research and is knowledgeable on how data is collected and reported out on in order to make the research consistent and valid. One example of an important type of documentation is a project methodology document. A tracking study can outlast clients, data collection partners, and research staff, so it's important to have a comprehensive methodology document that covers all aspects of the project. Examples of topics and details to consider including in a methodology document are the study's background. This can include details on the history of the research and the research objectives. It's also useful to include details on the target audience of the research and incidence levels. This includes the level of survey completions collected each wave, and any demographic or segment targets that are in place to help ensure a representative sample. It's also important to document data collection practices. Here you can include specific details around the sampling plan, making note of general response patterns to take into consideration during fieldwork, and any fieldwork monitoring practices that are in place. The methodology document is also a great place to keep a running record of fieldwork details, including survey length, where respondents are screening out of the research, and respondent drop-off rates. It's best practice to monitor and document these details each wave to help identify any potential issues that may arise during fieldwork. Any changes to the survey instrument can also be tracked here in the methodology document. You can record the date the survey change is made, the rationale for making the change, and any impact on trends. It's also beneficial to have details on the data cleaning plan. Here you can include practices that are in place to help ensure data quality. For example, criteria used to identify records to remove due to straightlining. This ensures data cleaning practices are consistent wave to wave. Details and weighting can also be included. Here you can identify measures that may need to be weighted in the desired distributions. For example, segment or demographic targets to ensure a representative sample. Details on the analysis and reporting plan can also be included. This could be an overview of the analysis that will be conducted each wave and the deliverables that will be pulled together. And finally, a detailed project timeline. This includes actions that will occur throughout each stage of the project and who owns each activity, for example, the client or the vendor. While a methodology document is a powerful tool to help ensure tracking studies are managed consistently wave to wave, it's also a valuable tool that can be used to provide a comprehensive overview of the research for you and your key stakeholders.
Reporting checklists are another important piece of documentation. Oftentimes, there are multiple people working on a study at one time, and over the years, the team for a particular project can change significantly. With different hands in the mix, it's easy for the flow of a report to become choppy and inconsistent. To ensure quality and consistency throughout the life of your tracking study, having detailed reporting checklists are helpful. These documents lay out rules and guidelines for pulling together particular tracking reports and deliverables for a specific client. Some examples of details to include in these checklists are base size rules and notations. For example, does the report display weighted or unweighted base sizes? What are the categories and notations for low base sizes? At what point is the base too low to show related data? Significance testing guidelines are also ideal to include. So what confidence interval is used throughout the report? Some clients prefer 90%, others prefer 95%. And how are these significant differences shown in the report? Are you using sig letters, arrows, shapes? The reporting checklist should also have notes on writing standards. Again, with multiple people working through a report, all with different styles of writing, if there are no standards in place, the report can sound choppy. The checklist should also have detailed quality control checks to ensure data integrity and quality. And then also other aesthetic rules and preferences for reporting. Some clients don't like certain colors being used in a report, or they have a very specific way they like to show certain types of data. Although there are some core elements to all reporting checklists, it's important to have a customized list for each tracking project to ensure client preferences and specific analysis are taken into account.
Perhaps the most important piece is the tracking questionnaire. Thoughtful survey design is extremely important. The survey needs to be designed in such a way that it can produce sound results, quarter over quarter, year over year, while also staying relevant and adjusting to changes over time. Best practices when designing a tracking survey include ensuring that your screening, demographic, firmographic, and core questions do not change. Create a flex section late in the survey where hot topic or trial questions can be asked for short periods of time. Having them at the end of the survey will minimize any impact these new questions could have on the core questions located earlier in the survey. It's best to ask core questions, for example, key metrics such as NPS or satisfaction, early in the survey so that they can receive sufficient attention and so that they are not influenced by prior questions. It's important to keep the survey up to date. As things such as products, services, or competitors change over time, make sure you're updating the options in your question lists. Questions may need to be added, removed, or altered as well. Ideally, no changes are made to the survey questions and flow outside of the list updates and questions within the flex section. If larger scale changes are needed, it's best to conduct a parallel study and compare the results back to the tracker, so any differences can be reviewed and weighed against the need to change within the survey. Don't forget to note any survey changes, even the list updates, in your methodology document.
Outside of documentation, we always try to provide value adds. As valuable as tracking research is, some people within an organization may begin to grow bored seeing the same data, sometimes with very flat trends quarter over quarter and year over year. It is our job as a research partner to help our clients keep their key clients and stakeholders engaged and make sure they're getting the most out of their research. It's ideal to have tailored reports to accommodate the different users of the research. It's valuable for us to understand how the reports will be shared, know how many internal client groups there are, and how they utilize the study. Knowing our clients' preferences enables us to develop reports to fit their use and needs. In the same realm of tailored reports, infographic summaries are becoming more popular and can be valuable tools to include with these reports. These graphical summaries for large detailed reports are being requested more and more. These infographic summaries are often distributed within our clients' organizations and tend to be preferred by high-level executives. When possible, we also try to combine clients' internal data with survey data to provide a more holistic view. In some cases, where we have multiple tracking studies with one organization, we provide extra decks a couple times a year that pull in data from several studies. We include the client's internal metrics, customer data, and/or any other relevant company or industry news. This has helped end users see the bigger picture. It's also another way to leverage tracking data that can sometimes begin to seem stale on its own. And then another value add is we always try to conduct proactive analysis to dive deeper. Throughout the quarter, we talk with our clients about internal and external happenings to see if questions or relevant data from the tracking research could be used to help them provide further insight around these happenings. A lot of times this information comes up naturally during project update meetings. During reporting, we try to incorporate additional analysis into the report to help address our clients' latest interests and questions. Additionally, when we see an alarming shift in trends during reporting, we proactively dive deeper to help explain or support the shift. While the purpose of tracking research is to monitor changes over time, it is not enough to just show that a metric went up or down significantly. The natural question that always follows with these shifts are revealed is why. Diving into the data to try and answer this question and providing this analysis in the report where the shifts occurred adds immense value. Beyond documentation and value adds, meeting and planning are important elements of successful tracking research, which Mike will take us through now.
Communication and planning are extremely important factors, not only for the tracking research, but in setting proper expectations and fostering the client-stakeholder-vendor relationships. We suggest including the research team, research vendor, and as appropriate, key stakeholders. As a research vendor, we like to host these at least quarterly and refer to them as workshops, insight sessions, or storyboarding sessions depending on the primary objective. Our agendas for these meetings typically include a discussion around changes within the client's industry that may require an ad hoc deep dive or survey changes before the next round of data collection, a review of any organizational updates that may alter research objectives or changes in scope, an update on staff and capabilities, where we cover any staffing changes and how any project responsibilities or contacts might change as a result. We also like to share any newer research capabilities and company news since our last meeting. A review of the current survey and deliverables with a discussion around changes that would be made in order to better answer stakeholder questions. In these meetings, a lot of time is typically spent reviewing recent deliverables. On top of our regularly scheduled meetings, we also like to hold annual planning sessions to review the execution of the research over the past year and understand the company's big picture plans, assessing their potential impact of the tracker and how the research can best support those plans. We try to hold these annual planning sessions during the project's third quarter. This allows us to jointly prepare for the upcoming year of research, reviewing what's gone well, what can improve, and project scope changes. Furthermore, high-level company plans could be discussed as appropriate to ensure that everyone knows how the tracker can support these plans or discuss how the research would need to change in order to best support the organization's future. We recommend doing these in person, as in-person planning sessions foster better relationship building and tend to get everyone more involved. By utilizing these best practices we reviewed today, your tracking research can maintain its usefulness and continue to run successfully well after you retire. Thank you for watching our webinar. If you have any questions about what we've covered or you'd like any information about our capabilities, please feel free to reach out to us at any time.